All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the CK podcast where the Kings took a W over the Dubs 141-119. We're just going to break down the game a little bit. Honestly, there wasn't too much to talk about because, another spectacular night out of De'Aaron Fox. I'm here with my co host over here, Javi. Javi, go ahead and introduce yourself, man. Let me know what you thought about the game.
As you guys know, I'm Javier Zaragoza. I'm just here to make sure you guys understand the brilliance of De'Aaron Fox. And if anybody has any indecision at all that De'Aaron Fox is an all-star, stop talking. And secondly, there will be no tanking. And there will be no more tanking. And there is no tanking in Sacramento. So if you're about tanking, sayonara there, guy. That's over with. All right, make sure you guys understand that's out. As my man E-Man would say, teach their own.
Teach their own. And, man, just a great game out of the Sacramento Kings. I mean, obviously, De'Aaron Fox just played absolutely out of his mind. A career high. I believe he had 46 or something around there. I can double-check that. But ultimately,
44.
44? Yeah.
In 36 minutes.
Yeah, he didn't play too much actually because especially it was a blowout. And just talk to me a little bit, Javi, about what you saw out of the Kings tonight, what we did well, what things that we can improve on. And I think particularly what was interesting about this game was a lot of our second unit guys got a lot of minutes considering, all of our trade assets haven't come in yet. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, Tyrese Haliburton played really well outside of, they only had a Warriors team that is definitely ravaged by rests. Steph Curry, Draymond Green did not play. But then we look at the totality of the game. They beat an undermanned Warriors team that we're chasing. So as a Kings fan, you guys look at it as they're 2 games out of the 10th seed. But what makes it real promising is that Kyle Guy, Justin James, Daquan Jeffries, Metu all played significant minutes in this game, and they played somewhat productive. But most importantly, we got reinforcements on the way right now. You look at, Delon Wright, you got the Corey Davis, what's his first name? Davis from Toronto.
Terrence
Davis. You also have Kent Bazemore, Silva coming. I believe they're going to waive the Clippers forward they got. I don't know why. I guess that was for salary cap implications to save them some money. They want to get rid of that Dwayne Dedmon trade exception. But at the end of the day, it was a great overall win. Great team win, and they got what they had to get done because they won 4 or 5. They played a depleted Warriors team. And like I said, they got Terrence Davis. They got the backup from Detroit, DeLon Wright, and they have Mo Harkless and Silva coming in. I mean, those 4 additions, at least 3 of them I think are going to have high impacts in this last, they're 45 games through. They have 27 left. They're going to have to finish, I would say 16 and 11 to get in because that'll be 30. I think they're going to finish at 500 to get in. So if they can finish 16 and 11 with, like I said, they have 27 games left because they're 20 and 25 right now, more than 2/3 of the way through the season. It's not a tall task, but it's definitely something where they can't have hiccups like, in the Charlotte game twice. The Orlandos of the world and look at when they blew that game against, or not even blew a game, but when they played against New Orleans and the Memphises and New York's, like the teams that are in the 8th, 9th, 10th, even 11th seed, even 7th seed per se, they can't just lose. They have to win 3 or 4 against, those 4 or 5 seeded teams because right now, as we're looking, we can't lose into teams that are in front of us. You know what I mean?
100%.
So
yeah.
It's just, somewhere we look in the stat line right now, like, Terrence Davis is going to come to this club. De'Aaron Fox playing 36 minutes, but we're used to him playing 40. Tyrese Haliburton playing 34. He's been about that 26 to 31 minute mark, a little more than usual compared to, most nights. Harrison Barnes, 36. We can spell him now. Buddy Hield played 30. That's a good night. Sean, 32. That's definitely a good night. But what my overall, notion is that these guys we're acquiring are going to be able to spell them to keep them fresh because when we do get into game 60, game 65, we want to keep De'Aaron fresh with low minutes tally, not like where he's playing 25 minutes, but, we want to have him available at his highest peak, his highest point, because we push for that 10th seed. We obviously got to get 2 or 3 to push to make into the top 8 tournament, which is our ultimate goal and which will shun the notion of any more tanking conversation. Because there's one point I want to make prevalent. is everyone uses that Timberwolves conversation as, oh, yeah, the Timberwolves, they made it that 1 year and they never snitched it back. Well, they're the only team that's done that. Like, there's 30 teams in the NBA, and there's 1 out of 20, 1 out of 30. So 20 other teams don't have that flaw. We made the playoffs, and that was a bad idea. Like, no. I mean, if you think like that, then you have a loser mentality. Like, we talked about this before with Leo. I got a winner's mentality. Leo does too. And he said that's just so naive and, irrational, whatever. End of the day, McNair didn't want to tank, and he didn't trade their 3 best players outside of De'Aaron and Haliburton on his roster. He kept all 3 of them. And, I mean, granted, the Warriors are depleted, but they got to win by 22. So you can't be upset. And more or less, we had a significant night and overall back-to-back nights, not just with the wins, but with the acquisitions.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I couldn't have put it any better. I think you really touched upon, bringing in that depth from the bench that we have. And honestly, I was texting our group chat for the people that don't know, and it was just like really frustrating to see Justin James just be a complete defensive liability. And unfortunately, it's looking like he's honestly might be waived, or I don't even know. He doesn't look like he's going to be a part of the rotation in the future. But something that really surprised me was the fact that Matu was actually able to have a bounce back game. I know he had that little flare that in the last game yesterday, but today, he just was doing it on both ends of the floor, offensively, defensively, and was a huge energy guy. I mean, something that does a little bit concern me is the fact that, Hassan Whiteside didn't play, so I'm assuming that he's probably going to be bought out and that maybe Matu or, Chris Silva or Mo Harkless is going to be our backup bigs for the future. In addition to that, man, Kyle Guy, you know what I mean? You can't forget, especially with March Madness coming around, that boy was knocking down threes. I don't know where he's going to fit in terms of long-term with this team, but it is a little bit encouraging seeing them being able to get minutes and also be productive in that retrospect. But ultimately, what do you think the Warriors could have improved on in order to, really show that, they're still a competitive team without a guy like Steph?
They should have traded us Kelly Oubre. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So I look at it overall with the Warriors. Really, they just, they're at one-dimensional team offensively. Everything goes through Steph the way I think our team goes through De'Aaron. But De'Aaron is, earning his way into the league as one of the premier shooting point guards. Obviously, the best driving point guard in the league, but he's really improved on his shot from the perimeter. He's trying to establish himself as a two-dimensional offensive player, as somebody who can slash their basket and shoot from the perimeter, as a shooting point guard that's also a distributor and a facilitator. He's been displaying since year 1 in 2017 as a first-year pro. But Steph Curry is already at the pinnacle. He's already there. He's been proven. He is the best point guard the last 5 years, in my estimation. He's the best shooter of all time. And most importantly, he's a Hall of Famer. So, it's Steph's show in San Francisco with the Warriors. Without him, they're not going anywhere. Damian Lee's a cool little player. Wanamaker just got traded. I don't even know if Mulder's – I think he got demoted maybe on our release or injured, something of that nature. I think he's on injured reserve. I don't know. Injured reserve maybe. But right now, you look at their team. If Steph's not playing with Draymond not there, that's definitely an issue. But Draymond cannot play, and they still can be successful. With Steph is everything that they have successful is encompassed in Steph Curry. So, I mean, I take tonight's game not as fool's gold, but, with a grain of salt. Because I don't know if they win. I think they could have won, but I think it would have been by 3 and not 22. You know what I mean? Because Steph averages, 25 plus. And, I mean, I'm not saying he's the best defender, but I feel like they would have played a lot better defense with Steph on. Not even saying on Curry or on De'Aaron per se, but Curry would have had that team rotating better. He would have had better defensive competency, and the concept schematically would have been executed a lot better, I think, with Steph just on the court alone. Even with, Draymond also, excluded. So, overall, like I said, good win, but let's not be like, hey, the Kings are back. I mean, they're 20-25, and they're, 2 games out of 10th. I think they're 12th or 11th overall. I know they're at least 12th, but they might be 11th depending on, who else won and lost tonight, respect from the Western Conference. But again, we can't win 4 or 5 and then go lose 3 or 4.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
That's what they've been. They've been consistently inconsistent, So
yeah, there's 3 particular players I want to kind of highlight for the Warriors. Obviously, Juan Toscano Anderson was absolutely insane. I mean, this guy was pretty efficient on the field, and Javi and I were joking off camera about him being better than Kelly Oubre. But ultimately, yeah,
you said that.
I know, that's why I said we were joking around. But nonetheless, yeah, I thought Juan played a really good game. I honestly thought that he added a lot of flair to that Warriors team, especially when they had no energy off the bench. The second thing I wanted to point out was the fact that Nico Manion obviously was able to make a lot of plays down the stretch. He did get overly exposed by De'Aaron Fox, but I mean, when De'Aaron Fox is having a night like that, I don't think any point guard can really stand up against him. And lastly, because I'm in the Bay Area, I had to watch the game through the Warriors broadcast, and they were talking about just overall James Wiseman's body language, and I personally saw it too. Playing basketball throughout high school and things like that. This guy just really looked like a diva on the floor, and it looked like he couldn't get the job done. And I'm not saying that James Wiseman doesn't have the potential in the future, but this is something that he definitely has to clean up. I don't know if any of you guys caught it, but at the end of the first quarter, I think he had like a traveling call or something, and he just completely like pouted, and they called timeout, and it looked like Juan Toscano Anderson was in his face telling him, keep your head up and things like that. But I think this is not the first occasion where he's getting too down on himself, especially as a young kid, and he just has to have that own fire and maturity, especially seeing a guy like Tyrese Haliburton be the same age and basically looking like a vet out there.
I don't mean
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I feel like the Warriors are really going to regret not trying to pull the plug on trying to flip him and Wiggins with that Minnesota pick for Bradley Beal. And I feel like they still can this summer. But I mean, I love Wiseman's ability. I love his potential. I love his game. But by the time he's where he needs to be for them to compete by, let's say, year 3 to get into a championship contention conversation, Steph's going to be 35, 36. Draymond's going to be 34, 35. Klay's going to be 32 or 33. And I'm not saying that's too old, but I mean, they get Bradley Beal right now. Next year, think about it. They were to flip Wiggins, and Wiseman with that Minnesota pick, they got the D'Angelo Russell trade. They'd have Steph, Beal, Klay, Draymond, and Looney. I mean, they can go sign, a Drummond if he wants to go chase a chip. And then, they'd have a formidable bench with Lee, Poole, Bazemore, Pascal, and, either Toscano Anderson if Looney's still there, whoever it may be. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying that he's going to be I'm not saying he's going to be a bad player, but what I'm saying is he's going to develop a lot slower than people are anticipating. They're just going to act as if two things that they have the ability to say, oh, Klay will be back. He's going to be back better than ever. He's going to be back how he was and how he was back in the finals. He's going to be back to Klay. He's had 2 devastating lower body injuries. He had a torn Achilles right after tearing his ACL. People are so quick to say the Warriors are going to have Klay Thompson again. Okay, and I love Klay Thompson. He's one of my favorite players, if not top 5 all time. But Klay Thompson, designated to be who he was, is not something that you can just rely on. Bradley Beal is not someone's insurance policy, but he's like, hey, if Klay ain't right, he's the guy that's going to take the load off because it's going to be like Steph minus maybe a 20 percentile of usage rate with Klay because Klay just being, he's going to be the Klay of old. That's you're over here asking for somebody who's hasn't not only played but shown stability in the basketball world as somebody that can formidably play year in and year out for the last 2 years because of injuries that are lower body injuries to where he's not even having these injuries take away games. He's losing years. He's losing seasons. You're looking at him as he hasn't played in 2 seasons straight just because he's injuries. And so my point is this. James Wiseman looks like he can be a perennial, star. I won't say superstar, but perennial star with his upside. But again, 2 things. By the time he develops into that star, where is Steph, Klay, and Draymond going to be in their careers? And number 2, we thought the same thing about Bagley to a certain extent. And look where we're at in year 3. Because Bagley looked really good in year 1. Yeah. And look where we're at now. The Kings fans talking about we look so much better without Bagley in the court. I can't argue with them. But again, I'm just not going to trade him for nickels and pennies. I want to get something back in return. I think that's why McNair didn't flip him. Because I think if they could have traded him for a second-round pick, yeah. They could have got him for 2 second-round picks, maybe 3. I mean, Oklahoma City has enough.
They might have wanted that 3rd-round pick, man.
Oklahoma City has enough second-round picks for the whole NBA and the whole G League, and still has some for themselves. So I mean, if I think that was the case, I think he realized hey, he might not be playing the best, but I'm not going to let go of a second-round pick for 2 second-round. I'm not going to let go of the second overall pick rather in the 2018 NBA draft for 2 second-round picks or even 1, because in the end of the day, compensation, value, and an asset is something that is hard to come by in the city of Sacramento for the Kings organization.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've seen a couple comments in the chat talking about James Wiseman, looking different tonight. And I mean, I think that was pretty apparent. He just, having so many turnovers, and he just looked like a rookie ultimately. Someone else commented, first game without Kojo was lovely. And I mean, I couldn't agree more. Trying to just focus a little bit more on the game here and some of the highlights. I mean, De'Aaron Fox, 44 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists. Tyrese Haliburton, 21 points, an assist. Rashawn Holmes, another double-double for him, 25 points, 11 rebounds, and I think a few blocks to pair with that. I just kind of wanted to, go on a little tangent about De'Aaron Fox and how great he's been these last two games specifically, but overall in this season, man. I mean, especially seeing him just be so comfortable down the floor. I mean, obviously, I was watching through the Warriors broadcast, so basically they were just talking about how great of a player he was, and obviously on the opposing team. And so him going downhill and having that confidence in that mid-range jumper is definitely expanding his game. And I think that just that overall confidence is helping him, get down the floor, and him willing to take that three ball. And if players aren't going to step up, it's almost like he's unguardable. You step up, he blows by. You sit back, he knocks down the jumper. So I just think overall, man, I just hope that, by next year he starts getting the respect around the league that he deserves, and that ultimately he does get that all-star spot that I think he definitely does deserve. But moving forward, I know a big thing was, the production that we get out of Tyrese Haliburton and De'Aaron Fox in our overall backcourt, and seeing them, basically provide us with almost everything offensively was really encouraging to see. I mean, Tyrese Haliburton is just so fun to watch. He's always smiling, and it feels like he's always uplifting the team. So I think his impact is obviously great, on the stat sheet, but obviously outside of that stat sheet, man, this guy is just, tremendous because he just has that chemistry. Were there any particular bench players for you, Javi, that either stood out or maybe didn't perform as well, even though they had, extended opportunity tonight?
I want to get to two things before I get to the bench players. De'Aaron Fox averaging 24, 7.5 assists, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.5 steals a game. If any fan out there, Kings fan or not, can say to me, to you, and to all the listeners, all the Kings fans out there, all the NBA fans out there, that he's not an all-star, then you need to get checked to make sure that your head is correctly functioning with your brain input, because there's no way that De'Aaron Fox is not an all-star in this NBA. I don't care how bad you think the Kings are. I don't care how bad you think the voting system is. He is an NBA all-star. And every time he's on the court, he's not, if not the best player on the court, he's the second best player. And that's an all-star in my estimation. And you can see it. Like, he's playing, looking as if he displays consistently a man amongst boys whenever he's out there dribbling the basketball. And even when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's like a man amongst boys. I'm not saying with his physical presence, I'm saying with his dominance. Like, when he has the ball in his hands, he's working on his offensive game with his head fake, with his, overall, just the nuances of the game, his step back, like I said, his head fake, his dribble drive, the way he can penetrate, the way he stops on a dime, the way he's worked on his perimeter shot, the way he just can over and over and over again just advantageously try a defender, make him think he's going to bite. Oh, and he actually goes that way, and he makes him think he's going to go one way and makes him do the opposite of where he wants to go. Has a defender exactly where he wants to go. He's going to make him think he's going to go where he's actually not. And he always consistently driving the cup. He's getting foul calls now, getting the respect from the refs to get to the free throw line and get 2 easy attempts at the stripe to be able to become a better scorer. But the bench scoring and the bench consistency that I've seen, which I am very privy to have some, hesitation to, Daquan Jeffries, man, he must have opened the door to the doghouse because he's back out. Maybe it's because all the trades we had. I'm like, man, Daquan Jeffries plays basketball for the Sacramento Kings. I thought he was playing with the Stockton Kings. But,
I want Daquan Jeffries to pick up those Justin James minutes because, my goodness, he was such a defensive liability. It was so obvious out there, man.
Looking lost. I mean, Daquan had 5, 2, and 1 in 22 minutes. Justin James had 3 and 1 assist. I mean, their stat lines were fairly similar. But, again, James only had 12 minutes. James is just a bad Vlade pick. Like, there's no other way to say it. Like, they should have kept Gary Trent. They flipped Gary Trent for those 2 second-round picks and Guy and James. We all know we should just have Gary Trent as our backup point guard. We could have still had DeLon and has another backup too.
Yeah.
But, hey, they chose to take Gary Trent and send him off. I mean, kind of McNair did the same mistake this year because he had Kenyon Martin Jr. He sent him off. I think Kenyon Martin looks like, somewhat of a player. They have, I think he plays for Houston right now, I think, and what's the Rockets?
I tell Leo all the time, man, I would have loved to have Kenyon Martin Jr. on this team, just being young, youthful, and, like, I don't even know what his vert is, but he just dunks everything. So
I mean, he has it in his gene pool. His dad is, that's what he was for the for the New Jersey Nets back before they moved to Brooklyn. But, again, those are second-round picks that you either hit or miss with, and we hit with one, and we just let him go, trade him, and now he's going to be starting probably for Toronto, if not, spilling Kyle Lowry because Kyle Lowry is supposed to get traded. Again, we have Justin James, who's lost in translation. Daquan Jeffries is a guy that's earned it out the mud, got out the mud, and grinded his way into the NBA as a Stockton King and found his way in the rotation. He looked good. I just hope when the reinforcements come in, Terrence Davis and in DeLon Wright, Harkless and Silva, he doesn't find his way back into the 15th man role. Because, like you said, we didn't see Whiteside. We didn't see you said Justin James might be a potential buyout. But if you count the roster, let me think. It's De'Aaron, Haliburton, Hield, Barnes, Holmes, and you got DeLon Wright. Then you're going to have Jeffries. Then you're going to have you're going to have Terrence Davis. Then you're going to have Jeffries. Then you're going to have Harkless. Then you're going to have Silva. Then you're going to have Guy, Ramsey, Woodard, the guy from the Clippers.
I think we waived.
And then Bagley.
Yeah.
But they're going to buy out the Clippers forward, and then they're going to buy out Parker. So I think maybe Whiteside would stay then. Well, no, because did I count Kyle Guy?
Yeah, you counted Kyle Guy.
Okay, Justin James. I didn't count Justin James. So I think it's gonna be Justin James is gonna be Whiteside. I think they're probably gonna buy out Whiteside because James will be that last player with Bagley. So they'll buy out Parker already being bought out. I think Whiteside will probably be the last. It's a shame, but I think they really should reconsider because if they do get in the top 10, I feel like Whiteside's presence is gonna pack a way more prominent punch and way more proficient punch in the paint for us in the interior than keeping James on the roster. Because say we go against a Utah. I mean, who's going to match the physicality of Gobert? I mean, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that, having Rashawn Holmes out for Hassan Whiteside, against a Rudy Gobert would fare to the likelihood of us upending them. But I feel like it'll give us more stability, confidence, and an overall ability to, protect the interior at all costs, and it'll give us a better option to defend Rudy Gobert at a more consistent level because he's a 7-1 center who moves slow but is very good in the interior, blocking shots, playing defense, etc. Just some respects, but just let him walk and buy him out. Like they were just helping the Lakers out. We're just helping the Clippers out. The Nets out. We don't need they already got enough. Like we know we buy him out, he's gonna go one of them. So one of those top tier teams in the West or the Eastern Conference, respectively. Just stash him. He has to honor the contract, and he's shown that. He's missed 10, 15 games. He came back last night and played as a pro, played like he was supposed to. So, I feel like that's what we've shown with our bench production, as well we displayed it now with our bench players.
100%. Couldn't have said it better. De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton entered the starting lineup for Marvin Bagley. Over these last 6 games, the Kings have gone 5-1, and De'Aaron Fox is averaging 30.7 points, 5.7 assists, and 2.8 rebounds. Obviously, should have been an all-star, but, with that being said, the Sacramento Kings never get any respect in this league. But hopefully, if we do make this playing tournament and make a great playoff push, then, teams around this league are going to start respecting us more and, giving us the respect that we deserve. Ultimately, just a great overall win. I think I just wanted to highlight, 2 specific Kings players that I think every Kings fan is a fan about. Tyrese Haliburton. I mean, you looked at the numbers in itself. Tyrese Haliburton has definitely made a huge impact for us on the court. And, hey, once again, the guy knocks down another 4-point play. So, I mean, at this point, it's not even a luck type thing. I mean, what's your rule, Javi? What, first time what? Second time what?
Okay. Well, if we're going to make sure we say this correctly.
Teach out about the family here.
Okay, so if we're going to make sure that, we have it to where, everyone understands what everything is in the Marvin Bagley case, first time's a chance, second time's a coincidence, third time's a pattern. But make sure you understand this. Whether it's a trend, whether it's a pattern, you can put it in either context. If it's going to happen 3 times, that's the pattern that's going to lay out for future incidents, for future reference, but for most importantly, future events. Because no matter what Marvin Bagley does, incidents like that have had happened previously in his first 3 seasons are going to happen again the way they happened last week, when he broke his hand. That hand injury is just another injury that's going to lead to a wrist injury, that's going to look into a thumb injury, that'll look into a pinky injury, that'll lay into a broken shoulder injury, torn labor injury, have this happen, have that happen, have that happen, have this happen, etc. And it's something I want. But like I said, he's been injured 3 times consecutively in 3 different seasons consecutively, in his first 3 seasons in the NBA consecutively. How can you expect anything else? And granted, I hope the best for him in regards to his injury history and his overall injury progression away from the conversation of him being an injury-prone player. But first year, he missed 22 games. Last year, he missed all but 13. This year, he's breaking his hand on a fluke injury per se in the paint. And I remember I said him being skinny is something that's going to, privy him to these type of injuries. And somebody said, oh, Javier thinks because Marvin Bagley's injury to his hand is something that's caused by him being skinny in the paint. How does that make any correlated sense to, a rational sense of computing why he injured his hand? I said, no, stop taking what I said out of context. I said because he is an undersized 30-pound lighter power forward than most power forwards in this league. The toll, the brunt, the bashing, the hits, and just the overall physicality he's going to display towards his overall physical body composition night in, night out is going to linger to his overall well-being as a player because he's consistently getting hit by bigger bodies in the paint night in and night out because he does not take the weight room serious. And I'm not saying it doesn't work out, but I'm saying for a third-year pro, look at De'Aaron's first year to his third year of his physical makeup. He gained muscle significantly. I'm not saying with his pounds in regards to how much he weighs. He didn't go from 160 pounds to 220 pounds. I'm saying his physical presence, his body composition, the way you look at him, because he's obviously put time in the weight room to establish himself as a more fit, muscular player, has benefited him in the long run. When he drives to the paint, he's stronger. When he goes to the cup, he finishes faster and harder. And most importantly, he plays better without the injury history. There's no other way to say it. Marvin Bagley is 235 pounds. How much does Richaun Holmes weigh? 260, and he's an inch shorter. There's no other way to write it. Richaun Holmes is 6'10", 260, 265. Marvin Bagley, 6'11", 230, 235. He's probably 220. But they just give him that because he's like, man, how are you coming to camp this light and you're playing power forward? It'd be different if you could shoot from the three, but you can't. Okay, 35% here, but he shot, 100 threes? Come on, man.
It's okay. You can say he can't because he can't.
The fans say, well, he shot 35%. He shot, 98 threes? Come on, man. Come on, bro. But he shoots 100 threes in 5 games. Come on. You know what I mean?
On a more optimistic note, though, let's hope that Tyrese Haliburton and these 4-point plays definitely become a pattern, as in Javi's words. But the Kings are just trending in the right direction. We won 5 of 6 for the second time this season, and we previously won 7 of 8 between January 22nd and February 7th. So, we're looking good so far, and obviously adding this bench depth, honestly, I feel like we're only going to get better. Fox and Haliburton over the last 3 games are averaging 59 points per game. Just to put that into perspective, Lillard and McCollum are averaging 42.3 points per game in the last 3. So I don't want to say anything too soon, but hey, if Haliburton stays in the starting lineup and keeps going crazy, I don't see why we can't be a top 10 backcourt in this NBA. You know what I mean? Especially with the Golden State Warriors not being that same backcourt that they are without Klay Thompson. But ultimately,
what were you gonna say?
I was just going to bring up, I saw someone in the chat mention how Harrison Barnes didn't have a good night, but I think ultimately with the Kings playing so well, it really didn't matter that much. And I think this is, Harrison Barnes does have nights like these. Obviously, if anything, I'm more happy about the fact that, he's still getting into the paint and taking these shots. Those are the types, though, that's what we need for the Sacramento Kings, someone that really just gets into the paint and is able to open it up for our shooters on the outside. I think it is really funny when Doug Christie talks about that slow-mo Euro that he's always doing in there, but it's so efficient, you know what I mean? And so what I really liked was not only yesterday, but today as well, even if he's not being productive offensively, he's stopping usually the most, offensive productive player on their team. So, for example, yesterday, who was it? Matu was getting cooked by Danilo Gallinari, and as soon as Harrison Barnes switched on him, it was night and day. And especially with today, Andrew Wiggins had it going for him a little bit in that first half, and as soon as Harrison Barnes was on him, no man can do. So, super, encouraged to see that out of Harrison Barnes, just a seasoned veteran, you know what I mean? That's something you got to expect out of him, especially, being one of the leaders of this team. But, Javi, do you have anything else to talk about the game? What else did you think, man?
Overall, great team win, but I want to definitely see, is there any way we can take some calls right now, or can we put a number in here? Would you feel comfortable putting your phone number up there? Let's talk, let's take some calls, man. Let's get the fans interacted, let's see what they want. Obviously, there's a few comments. Do you might put your number up? What do you want to do? Because, we got, we're 30 minutes into the call. Let's see what they think, because we've been doing a lot of talking the last 2-3 days, or 2 days, last 3 podcasts. You want to have any fan interaction at this time? It's definitely something that I want to hear. I want to see what they have to say.
100%. We always love talking to the CK family. Let me just shoot Leo a text right now and see what he thinks about it. See if he can maybe hop on for a moment and just take some calls. Let's see. Do you have any comments on, our lack of playing time for our second-round picks in terms of what Jamius Ramsey and Woodward?
They're not ready. They're not ready. They're just not ready. They're not there yet. I'm looking forward to seeing Saturday. I think by then the trades will be processed, and I want to see, our bench players that we just acquired get some run against the Cavaliers. I mean, if we can win against the Cavs, let's see the next 5 games. Let's just see: Cavs, Spurs, Bucks, Pistons, Pelicans. I mean, that's a 4-1 stretch right there. I could say 3-2. My bad. I read that wrong. Cavs, Spurs, Lakers, Bucks. Never mind. They do left, right, left, right, left, right. I could see, man, if they could win 3 straight, but I don't see them win against the Lakers. Whoa, I forgot. Hold on. The Lakers don't have AD or LeBron right now. Wait just a second. That's interesting. They could beat the Cavs. I think they could split with the Spurs and get the Lakers. What do you think?
I mean, I don't see why not, especially with the Lakers dealing with injury and the Spurs essentially, buying out LaMarcus Aldridge. I don't even know if DeMar DeRozan wants to be in there anymore. So, I mean, honestly, I feel like the sky is the limit at this point.
Yeah, I just feel as if, right now, let me see real quick, because we got a few. Yeah, let's see. 5 games is a good number to just, so Cavs Saturday, Spurs Monday, Spurs again Wednesday, Lakers Friday, Bucks Saturday on a back-to-back. Yeah, if we can get the Cavs on Saturday, split with the Spurs, and get the Lakers Friday, probably take the L against the Bucks on that Saturday on that back-to-back. I mean, they go 3-2. They'll be at 23-27. And then this is where the path gets. I mean, then they got the Timberwolves, Pistons, Jazz, Pelicans, Wizards. That's a 4 or 5 there. They beat the Timberwolves, Pistons, Pelicans, Wizards. They'd be at what? 31. And no, my bad. They'd be at 30. No, my bad. I'm over here getting ahead of myself. They'd be 27 and 28 to be a game under. Yeah, we'll see how the next 10 or 15. They have some winnable games, though, is what I'm trying to say. The second half of the schedule of the season is my point that I'm trying to make currently on the pod, is that they definitely have a sense of how we can see the Kings coming back from this deficit they put themselves in the first half to climb the ladder, to climb out of that hole, to potentially get over 500. Like I said, 16-11 is the goal, I think, to get to 36 wins. And I think they fall anything short of that this time for the remainder of the 30. What do they have? 27 games left for the last third of the season. They can't make the playoffs of the 10th seed, in my estimation.
Yeah. I mean, you broke it down for everybody. So if anyone wants to know what the Kings got to do for the rest of the season, rewatch this podcast and you'll definitely find out, because Javi broke it down really well. But with that being said, man, I think we had a really great call today. I mean, obviously another great blowout win for the Sacramento Kings. Super excited to see what we got moving forward, and super excited to see our new acquisition start getting into play. But thank you guys again so much for watching. Javi, did you have any closing words?
Hey, man. I am going to get a De'Aaron Fox jersey in those old 1990 Kings jerseys, and I will be the first to wear that around. If I see anybody with it after today, I know you took this video and you went to go make that customized jersey for my idea, because I want that old school look that looks the best with our uniforms, with that 5 Kings jersey on the back.
What colorway, Javi? I'm just curious. What colorway?
The black with the white with the purple, like, the KINGS, the big block, not the big block letters, those big, just domestic letters that look real. The Weber, but that Weber look that we always see that, Leo's post on the page, but that 5 on it. I'm going to make it customized with the Fox on the back, because they would look so dope if they brought those. I mean, the New Jerseys are cool, but those new blacks they have don't compare to the ones we had back when we were in our heyday, man. Like, I don't know why they don't wear those still. Like, they try to replicate them with DeMarcus like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. They try to do too much. Just keep it how they had it. Like the Lakers, other good organizations, they keep what works because it worked for so long. Well, I don't know why the Kings got away from that. So I know I'm just going on a tangent, but I'm saying I'm getting that jersey. So if I see anybody with the De'Aaron and the old school 1998 edition, I'm going to press why you took my idea and try to use that for your own core, for your own betterment, because that De'Aaron Fox jersey will be mine sooner rather than later.
So Hobby's gonna rock his 1998 De'Aaron Fox jersey, but you guys can get your No Tanking merch down in the link in the bio. Make sure you guys check that out. We're definitely gonna see if the Kings can make this playoff push, and hey, we might upset a 2-3 seed. Who knows? I think we have that potential. But once again, thank you guys so much for tuning into the CK podcast. We really appreciate that, and definitely drop a like, dislike, comment, whatever you guys are feeling. We really appreciate that. But see you guys.